क्या स्क्रीन दिख रही है दीदी? इसको ना इंटरव्यू को फिर दोबारा पूरा रिकॉर्ड करके जब रिकॉर्डिंग ऑन कर दो अनीता जी, इसको फिर उस पे डाल देंगे फेसबुक पे लाइव स्ट्रीम करके।
नहीं,
तो अभी यूट्यूब पे लाइव स्ट्रीम होने
लाइव
दो।
तो हो ही रहा है, तो वो डाउनलोड हो जाएगा।
स्क्रीन दिख रही है दीदी? ना इंटरव्यू को फिर दोबारा पूरा रिकॉर्ड करके जब रिकॉर्डिंग ऑन कर दो अनीता जी, फिर उस पे डाल देंगे फेसबुक पे लाइव स्ट्रीम करके।
नहीं,
तो अभी
लाइव
यूट्यूब पे लाइव
तो हो ही रहा है, तो वो
स्टार्ट।
Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all today again in this Facebook Live session. Today, we are going to discuss on Mandarin Mantra, and we have Miss Anita Purohit with us. She has trained hundreds of students in Chinese language successfully towards their goal. She's going to tell us few things on learning Chinese, which is otherwise known as Mandarin. Welcome, Mrs. Anita Purohit. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Riddhi, for the warm welcome. Good evening, everybody today present here in the YouTube and Facebook. Uh, First of all, I thank all of you to listen to me. So today we are going to discuss about Mandarin mantra. You must be knowing what is the meaning of mantra, of formula, how to learn Mandarin. Formula, easy way, tricks to learn Mandarin, how difficult or easy it is to learn Chinese or Mandarin. So, so
Let's
what,
get started with the questions. Anita ji, first of all, let us know what made you learn Chinese at first.
okay, it was in the year 2000. I met one trainer from Taiwan. She was Yang Yulan. She had visited India with some research work. So she was my first guru to teach me Chinese. So it was Yang Yulan who was a teacher from Taiwan who was my first guru to teach me Chinese. This is what I was curious to learn, to listen to Chinese language from Yang. So I started learning Chinese. This was out of sheer curiosity that made me learn Chinese. Way back in the year 2000, then I continued my learning for years together with Yang, my teacher.
Great. And how did you first thought of learning Chinese? How did this thought come up?
Well, to answer to this question, I would like to say I was sitting in a class where she was teaching Chinese, and I was the one, even though I was not a student really, but sitting in the last bench, I used to respond to all her questions. So she was the one who encouraged me that when if you are not learning and still responding to the questions, if you learn, then you can always do better. So this is what made me learn Chinese. Started learning Chinese with a Mandarin trainer or native trainer. So this was again, I should say that out of sheer curiosity, that I started learning Chinese. That was way back in the year 2000.
This is great. And how many years did you continue to learn Chinese?
Well, if we count that way, I learned Chinese for maybe, say, talk about 7 to 8 years. Even now, also, I continue learning Chinese. So I have not stopped learning Chinese, even now, also. So I continue learning Chinese. Now. So
I
seven to
think
eight,
it's,
yeah.
yeah, okay. So 7 to 8 years to learn Chinese you've
Mhm.
taken. I have got to know from a lot of people that it's a very difficult language. What do you have to say on that? How difficult or easy it is to learn Chinese?
Well, definitely, yeah, it is a bit difficult, but it is not like that one cannot crack the language. One can always crack the language. So learning Chinese is a bit difficult compared to when we learn any European language. Like suppose you are learning French or Italian or Spanish, because the script is still English, so it is easy for you to learn. But when we learn Chinese or Korean or Thai, because the character, the script is different, that is called Hangzhou. One has to master the character, so it becomes difficult for a person to master the Hangzhou. Otherwise, there are ways out, like there is a different way how one can write Chinese through pinyin. So when you say pinyin, that is using the Romanian script, one can still write and learn. So that becomes easier.
Okay, so I would like to know what is the minimum time frame needed to master Chinese language for a beginner? Like, how much time does it take for them to uh, to go through the characters and everything?
Somebody who is starting to learn Chinese from zero, I mean, who doesn't have any knowledge of the language, I would say minimum 6 months one should have peacefully to master the language. If you do not really need to master the character, you can learn Chinese to be able to speak and understand by writing through English, that is pinyin. 6 months is the minimum time that I feel one needs. The one who absolutely doesn't have any knowledge of the language can master the language to be able to speak and understand what the other guy is talking.
And what are the different methods to learn Chinese?
When we talk of methods, one can, as I told you, you can write using English syllable, that is Romanian script. Suppose I say ni hao. So ni hao, you can write Nihao, and you can always master that. And otherwise, what you can do, you can always learn the character right from the beginning, learn the hanja, and you can master. So, methods of learning is one can either take a teacher, a master, and take the help of a master and learn. One can browse through various YouTube videos and all, and you can learn. So, there are ways, and books are also available in the market to master. So, Chinese is a difficult language, no doubt, but it is not like that one cannot crack. You need to have patience and consistency to master the language. So, that is very much needed.
Okay, so if someone learns only Pinyin, do you think they can still survive?
Yeah, in fact, I have trained many business people and all those who frequently travel to different parts of China. They do not have the patience to master the hanja, the character. So they come to learn through Pinyin. That is an easy and quicker way of mastering the language. You learn to be able to speak and understand, and you write it not using hanja, the character, but you can always learn, I mean, using English syllable. So that becomes easier. You can always survive. Somebody who's traveling to China on and off for business purpose or something, it is a quicker way of mastering the language using pinyin to be able to speak. So that is one thing I would like to say.
Okay, so what do you think about the writing skills? How much time is needed to?
If you really want to master the hanja, I mean practice character, you should have 2 to 3 years time. So minimum 2 years or 3 years one need to practice the character so that you can master it well, I feel. So
Great. An Indian person can learn Chinese here in India. Like, what do you think? If someone from India wants to learn Chinese, do they
mhm.
have to learn it from here, like in the country, within the country only, or they'll have to move to China to learn Chinese? What is your opinion on that?
Well, to respond to your this question, I would like to say as a trainer, not necessarily one should have a native trainer. Or native trainer, having a native trainer, yeah, definitely you can gain some knowledge about the tone, the typical native tone. But they have less knowledge. Not all the native trainers have grammatical knowledge. Unless and until you master the grammar, grammar patterns and all, you will not be able to speak correct Chinese. So even in India, we have very good trainers of Chinese language in different parts of India. So it doesn't matter whether your trainer is a native trainer or a Indian trainer. The person should have proper knowledge of the language, should have grammatical clarity, should have vocabulary skills to be able to teach. This is what is needed in a trainer. So that matters basically.
So, does this language has different dialects?
When we talk of Chinese languages, looking at different province, they speak different. Like how in Maharashtra, people speak different dialects of Marathi language. Similarly, in China, there are three dialects. One is called Mandarin, the other one is called Cantonese, the other one is called Hakka. Mandarin is spoken by uh, almost all population all over the globe, and Mandarin is spoken in mainland China, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and all. Whereas Cantonese is spoken by few population in Hong Kong, and then Hakka is a tribal language. Hakka is the third dialect of Chinese, which is spoken by rural population or the tribal people in China. They speak Hakka. So there are three dialects of Chinese, which is Mandarin,
Okay.
Cantonese, and Hakka.
And so here I have one more question for you. Is there any age limit, like upper or lower, to learn Chinese?
No, not really. The lowest age that I have taught is say 8 years age. A child from 8 to 9 years old age can also is ready to learn Chinese. The prerequisite for learning Chinese is you should have command over the English language. You should be good in English to be able to learn Chinese. So the lowest level age is 80, and the above age could be 60 and above also. So the prerequisite only is we should know a little bit of English to be able to speak the language.
One more thing I would like to know that what do you think are the uses? Like if someone learns Chinese language, how are they going to get growth in their life, or how are they going to grow? What are the uses of learning this language?
Okay, the people those who learn Chinese is mostly students, those who go to study in different universities in China. Then there are business people, those who have business exchange with different parts of China. They need to learn the language so that it becomes easy for them to trade with the other part of the country. At the same time, those some people they migrate and they stay there and they need to learn. At the same time, some people they learn just out of fascination. They choose to learn one particular foreign language, so they have to learn Chinese. So these are the reasons, various reasons people love to learn Chinese, or they have a need to learn Chinese. I should say.
I think it's a very interesting language. Otherwise, as well, one should always learn it.
Oh yeah,
It's yeah.
yeah. Certainly, the Mandarin language has got all-time need, and it has its own value and importance all over the globe. So there is a different thing. It has its own needs and it has its own place, and this is a very good language, I should say, because it is connected to our ancient history, and the history is very much connected to the language. So, and somebody who is learning the Chinese language should also know about their culture and their various religions. All these things also should master, which is really very much good importance, I feel. So learning Mandarin is not that difficult. It is easy. One should have interest to learn the Chinese language.
Can you say something in Chinese? Can you let us know,
Okay.
can you speak something
Yeah,
in it?
yeah, yeah. Ni hao ma. Ni hao ma is how are you? Ni ni na min di shama ma. Ni chao shama ma. What's your name? How do you say? So then again, if you want to say happy birthday, Shangri, Kwai Lao, happy birthday. So it's like that. This is a very interesting language. It sounds good. Mastering Chinese will take you far and far. So one should have interest in learning Chinese.
And is there any difference between native, like the traditional language and the contemporary, the language which is going on
Yeah,
right
the
now?
language has been divided into categories. One is traditional Chinese and the other one is simplified. Later, a couple of years before, they have made the Chinese language was the most difficult language, so they have simplified the language. So there are two versions basically. One is traditional Chinese and the other one is simplified Chinese. So this is how.
Okay, and are they both difficult? or like if one wants to learn in an easier way, what is the quickest way? Is
No,
that
simplified
contemporary?
Chinese. As I said, simplified Chinese, they have simplified the characters to some extent later. So that is the way. But so far you're learning in Pinyin, it doesn't make any difference whether it is simplified Chinese or traditional Chinese.
Okay.
Because in Pinyin you are using English Romanian script to write. So when somebody is learning through Hanja, the character, it makes a difference. So
Okay.
so some strokes
And
have been reduced when you write in simplified Chinese. So this is
okay. And there's one more thing. Like while you are speaking in Chinese, there's always a rhythmic sound which is going on. So what is it about? Why is it? Why does it sound so musical?
sorry, what is your question?
It like whenever you speak Chinese or Mandarin, it
Mhm.
always sound like a musical thing. What is the idea behind it?
Invisible thing.
Yeah, I
The
mean it's
thing is
very
more
musical and it's going on
musical.
in a rhythm. Yeah.
The Chinese language has got four tones. You have a first tone, second tone, third tone, and fourth tone. The tones basically help us to pronounce the word in different manner. So looking at the tone, we have to give the pronunciation to a particular word. So depending on the first tone, second tone, third tone, and the fourth tone, we have to pronounce the words. So one should, when you are learning Chinese, you should know how to pronounce the different tones. Tones help us to, pronounce the word correctly. That is how the tone plays. The tones play a vital role. Suppose I want to say shoe, shoe with the first tone, that is book. Chashirika shoe, this is a book. Then I say na, sure, ego shoe, that is a tree. So I'm using a first tone shoe, that is book. And when I'm using a fourth tone shoe, shoe, na, sure, ego shoe, that is a tree. So when I'm using a fourth tone, shoe, that is tree, and when I'm using a first tone, shoe, that is book. So the same word with different tone can have different meaning. So the tones play a vital role when you are learning Chinese. One should master the tone. Tashirvata, ma, she's my mother. Tashirvata, ma, she's my horse. So when I'm using the same word mama with third tone, it means horse. So if I by mistake I utter a different word, or particular word with a different tone, it will entirely change the meaning of the word. So the tones play a vital role. Tashirvata, ma, she's my horse. So there, one has to be careful about. Mastering the
I
tone is
think
one essential thing when you are learning Chinese.
I
So
think this is a very interesting thing that we got to know today about the tones and the because the characters. Okay, so are there any similar characters for different words, or how like how do we play with the characters in this language?
sorry, how?
How do we play with the characters in this language? Are like is there anything like different words have the same character or similar characters?
No, not really so. Like, not really so. In fact, in Pinyin, you have the same word with the same tone can have two different meanings. Wapingla, B-I-N-G, ping, I has a first tone. Ping is sick. Then wa, ya, ping, shui, I want cold water. So the same word ping can mean sick, I am sick. At the same time, ping, shui, that is cold water. So the same word with the same tone can have two different meanings. Ching, thing,
Okay.
thing is to stop. Ching, thing is to listen. Please listen. So sometimes it so happens the same word with the same tone can have two different meanings. So that one has to be careful about. So this is the way.
Wow, we can totally know how difficult it is to learn when we get to know about this. But at the same time, I think it is very interesting to learn because it's kind of playing games and it's a very interesting language to learn, though it is very
Yes, yes.
difficult.
It's
But
fun.
one
It
should
is a lot of
definitely learn
fun.
this language.
It's a lot
Uh,
of fun learning Chinese. So, so everybody should, people should be interested in learning Chinese. And definitely, it is a very interesting and different language altogether. So.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Anita ji. I think this was a lovely session and we got to know
Yeah,
so
thank you
much
so
about
much
this
for the
language,
session
which
today.
we never knew
And I thank my viewers, all my
before
viewers
here.
today. And thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita ji. Thank you for
Yeah,
being
thank you
here.
so much.